Mr. Jordan, I'm wondering if Brighton are going to win themselves a trophy, because we were talking about something special going on at Newcastle. Is something special going on under Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton? You know what? It might just be because he's got his eye on the FA Cup.
For us, FA Cup is very important. It's not an important game, it's a crucial game, because we want to arrive in Wembley to play the semi-final. There will be another game if we win tomorrow, but we have to stay focused on only of the Stoke.
You see, they're taking it mightily seriously.
Good to hear, isn't it?
And so they should. It's good to hear, Simon. And then on the other hand, Javi Gracia, the recently arrived in England, Javi Gracia with Leeds United, is pretty much saying the same thing.
When I start the season and you ask me, I always say the same. I say, I want to win the title. I think it's the way we have to play all the competitions. Try to be ambitious was the same. We want to win the trophy. Game by game, you have to modify your target. And you have to see or to realize your target is maybe remain in Premier League. Then we have to be focused on that. But I prefer to focus only in the next game. Is the best way, in my opinion, to do your best.
I just wonder if this is the year they're going to see one of these so-called middling clubs, if you like. Maybe Brighton don't fall into that category, do they? A bit, maybe.
Yes.
Coming through and winning at Wembley.
Maybe. I think that more often than not, the cream rises to the surface, and it's nice to hear that teams in the Premier League take the FA Cup seriously. I think Leeds are right to take it seriously, because this guy needs to build momentum. He needs to build a culture. He needs to be in a winning regime. He needs to get the players to buy into what he's doing. So if he can win games, the FA Cup games, and beat Fulham in that situation, he can translate that on the pitch to the core product, which is getting them to stay in his Premier League. Brighton, well, he's very fortunate, Roberto De Zerbi. He picked up a very decent side. And he's continued to, and there's been a few issues with Trossard wanting to go and so on and so forth, but they've got an embarrassment of riches of players that they've recruited. So with that in mind, I think that both of them will put their best teams out, try and perform well in this cup. But I think that's the way it should be anyway. It's the FA Cup, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
For those teams that are in that situation, they don't get a whiff that often of being in Europe. Why wouldn't the most glorious domestic cup in world football still be of intrigue? And it's nice to hear an Italian coming into our league attaching great value to it.
Well, it changes the whole course of history for your football club, doesn't it? Well, do I remember old Dave Whelan telling me about Wigan, what it would mean to him for Wigan to... Well, but they won the cup.
Yeah,
you can never take that away
penalty
from
me and scored an FA Cup final.
Good. Well, I'm glad about that.
But the point is,
it changed the course of history for Wigan.
Did it?
Of course it did.
Well, who's it changed the course of history for? Did it change the course of history for other football clubs that have won it?
Simon, you say to any Wigan Athletic fan, what's your best day out you can ever remember? Wembley, when we beat Manchester City.
But Brendan Rodgers has been, in trouble for the last year or so because he's not been doing the job that fans think he's going to do. The fans have forgotten they won the FA Cup 18 months before.
Have they?
Well, they must have done, because they're back.
I doubt it. You ask any Coventry fan today, what's your best memory of supporting your club? Keith Houchin's goal.
Granted.
Absolutely.
Granted. And, one of my favourite memories of 1990 was Palace nearly winning the FA Cup, winning 3-2 up, of course. But the FA Cup does not have the lustre that it once had. So I'm glad that people attribute enough importance to it. Now, the team that need to get their boots on are Tottenham Hotspur, because they're the ones that could get themselves in a situation if they beat Sheffield United, which, by the way, is a very difficult game. Then Tottenham can, if Daniel Levy can nail down winning a pot, it will stop the narrative that was being built up against Tottenham Hotspur being a team that's only benefited Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's constantly the questions that's asked of these owners. When's the last time we won anything? When's the last time we lifted anything? Yeah, and they're right. The fans are right to ask that.
But there's only so many things you can win, isn't it? There's only one Premier League a year. There's only one FA Cup and one League Cup. And there's 92 teams competing for the Cups, and there's 20 teams competing for the Premier League. But the argument, if you're talking about Tottenham Hotspur, it's difficult to odds that you haven't won anything since 2008. You've been in Champions League finals. You've been in cup semi-finals, but you haven't won something. Now, for Brighton and for Leeds, I really get Javi Gracia's view on Leeds, because, like I just said, building the momentum, getting that culture into those tin-eared players is important for him.
Tin-eared. Well, Manchester City have got their chance tonight. They're at Bristol City. And then, of course, Manchester United, they've got one in the bank already. They're up against West Ham tomorrow. West Ham, I mean, how much would West Ham and Sullivan, your great mate David Sullivan, how much would they relish the opportunity to go all the way at Wembley? I mean, the carrot here is enormous for these clubs. To go there and get FA Cup glory. Is it not? You'd have loved it. Loved it at Palace in your time there.
Of course it is. But when we're talking about we're talking about
De
Leeds.
Zerbi's been clever. Of course we want to win it.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
a foreigner working in your league. I'd love to win the FA Cup.
And you're singing to the choir. I'm the one that advocates for these football cups to be kept. I'm the one that suggests that it's an audacity to even consider dropping the League Cup. I'm the one that was outraged when Man United decided they didn't want to play in the FA Cup. I'm the one that constantly advocates for the importance of these cups, whilst other people in and around football diminish them.
Yeah.
So it is nice to hear that people are attaching value to them.
Yeah.
And that the clubs that are in the tournament want to be in it and want to be successful.
There is Rob, a big Leicester fan. Simon, of course, we have not forgotten about winning the FA Cup only two years ago. We just don't get the exposure that the top six get because they hog all the headlines. I'm not entirely sure that's right, Rob, but I'm sure you have not forgotten about winning the FA Cup. As I said to you moments ago, Wigan fans have not forgotten about it.
Okay.
It was their greatest day.
But maybe the example I've given of Leicester and the fact that they've not forgotten it in conjunction with the fact the team's not performing very well now, so the manager's got to go. So with that in mind, I don't know. But yes, of course, you are right. If you won something, you can constantly laud and applaud it.
Yeah.
But what you would do is win something next.
And you're about to get caught with your trousers at your ankles because when you and I did a show up in Newcastle, when we did it from the central station in the city, of course, at the end of that show, for everybody who's listening this lunchtime, Mr. Jordan was mobbed by Newcastle United shirt-wearing fans, and at the end of it, you held up. You had your own audience there, even after we went off air, and it was remarkable to see. So don't give it all these wee tweaks about Newcastle are the biggest club in Newcastle.
And what did I say to those Newcastle fans? I said, you're a massive club in Newcastle, because that's what you are. And one day you might be, if you're a good little football club, be a big football club in the world.
A good little football
club. Right now,
club.
what you are is a big football club in Newcastle. That's the end of the conversation. There's no more conversation to be had. And I said the same thing to Newcastle fans in that train station. So there's no trousers around my ankles, nothing of the sort.
Yes, there is. And this Newcastle fan who has not given his name is saying, Jim, the things he says about Newcastle,
Mr. J. White.
He just says them to be controversial. He's like a posh Jason Cundy.
What's controversial about saying...
I love that.
Are Newcastle big in Spain? Are they big in Germany? Are they big in Malaysia? No, they're not. Will they be? Yes. What is wrong with the idea of... Crystal Palace are big in Croydon. If I said that, Crystal Palace are big in Croydon, wouldn't Palace fans go, that's a bloody sauce? I say they're big anywhere else, it would not be true. And Newcastle are a big club in Newcastle, and that's where they're a big club.
Yeah.
Why would anyone be offended by that? It happens to be true.
We're going with Selco, our show sponsors, for lunch. You're going to behave yourself?
No.
Okay, that's good to know.